Hello everyone. Today I'll be talking about adaptations and change. Scientists classify the biological communities of Earth into biomes. Each of these large land regions or biomes has its own distinct climate, soil, plants, and animals. There are freshwater and ocean or aquatic biomes. However, the focus of this screencast is on terrestrial biomes. The dominant vegetation in a biome is determined by the climate of that region. The climate of an area is defined by a region's average monthly temperature and the total monthly precipitation, averaged over 30 years. Remember, weather is about today and changes frequently. Climate refers to long-term patterns and stays the same. The classification system is based on 6 biomes: grassland, desert, tundra, boreal forest, temperate forest, and tropical rainforest. Next, we will take a closer look at each of these biomes. Sometimes you hear of the frozen tundra, which provides some idea of what to expect in this biome. Tundra biomes are vast, treeless plains. The soil is frozen, and for 9 months of the year, tundra lakes lay buried beneath a blanket of ice. Short summers bring long hours of daylight but little heat. Tundra areas are basically frozen deserts where very little snow falls. Winds constantly blow the snow around, giving the illusion that this region receives a great deal of snow. Plants in the tundra biome include grasses, wildflowers, mosses, and small shrubs. You would find animals such as the caribou shown here, also the musk ox, polar bears, arctic foxes, weasels, owls, grouse, rodents, black flies, and other insects. Tundra biomes are located far north, such as the high Arctic region of Canada, and also in high mountains. In terms of the climate, tundra biomes have very cold, long winters, as well as short and cool summers. These areas receive about 10 to 25 centimeters of precipitation a year. The boreal forest biome is a transition zone south of the tundra. Factors gradually change from north to south as the climate becomes warmer and wetter. The boreal forest receives more of the sun's heat for a longer summer. The change in climate is accompanied by a gradual change in vegetation and animal life. Moving south, clumps of dwarf trees, scattered in sheltered areas, gradually increase in size and number. Further south, a distinct tree line is observed, marking the northern edge of the boreal coniferous evergreen forest. Plants in the boreal forest biome include mostly spruce, fir, and other cone-bearing evergreen trees. You would see animals such as rodents, snowshoe hares, moose, lynx, least weasels, caribou, black bears, grizzly bears, wolves, and many birds. Boreal forests are located in most of Canada, Russia, Sweden, Denmark, and Norway. The climate of boreal forests consists of very cold winters and cool summers. These areas receive approximately 50 centimeters of precipitation a year. The temperate deciduous forest biome usually begins on the southern edge of the boreal forest, with even more temperate or moderate climate and abundant moisture that is evenly distributed throughout the year. The 4 seasons are well developed, and the temperature gradually changes with the seasons. The growing season ranges from 4 to 6 months. Temperate forests lose their leaves in the fall and grow new ones each spring. Plants in the temperate forest biome include broad-leaved trees such as oak, beech, and maple. Temperate forests contain animals such as wolves, deer, bears, and a variety of small mammals, birds, amphibians, reptiles, and insects. Most of the United States, United Kingdom, Western Europe, Brazil, and Eastern China fall within the temperate forest biome. The climate consists of relatively mild winters, the climate consists of relatively mild summers, cold winters, and usually they have 4 distinct seasons. Temperate forests generally receive about 75 to 100 centimeters of precipitation a year. Next is the grassland biome. All of the world's grasslands have 6 things in common: rolling to flat terrain, high vegetation of grasses, low and irregular precipitation, a high rate of evaporation of soil moisture, and occasional severe droughts. The intensity and duration of the sunlight the area receives are about the same as in the temperate forest. The difference, however, is the low rainfall, which produces soil conditions that support grasses and crops rather than trees. Grassland biomes contain mostly grasses and small shrubs, as well as some trees near water. This biome contains many grazing animals that eat grasses. In North America, you would see prairie dogs, foxes, snakes, insects, and birds. In Africa, you would find elephants, lions, zebras, and giraffes. And Australia has kangaroos. Grassland biomes are located in the mid-latitudes and the interiors of continents such as central Canada and the United States, as well as parts of China and Eastern Europe. The climate is cool in the winter and hot in summer. Grassland biomes receive about 25 to 75 centimeters of precipitation a year. Tropical rainforests are close to the equator and are characterized by warm temperatures and a great deal of rain. Rainforests are home to more species of organisms than any other biome on Earth, possibly because they provide a multitude of habitats for diverse organisms. Tropical rainforests have a very wide diversity of vines, ferns, and trees. There are more species of insects, reptiles, and amphibians found in tropical rainforests than in any other biome. Some animals you would see there include monkeys, elephants, and birds. Tropical rainforests are located near the equator. In Canada, this biome is found on the west coast in the Queen Charlotte Islands. The climate is hot all year round. Tropical biomes receive about 200 to 600 centimeters of rain a year. A desert is an arid region with sparse to almost non-existent plant life. With limited rainfall, vegetation in deserts greatly varies. Areas that receive more rainfall produce a shrub community that includes drought-resistant trees. Less rainfall results in scattered plant life and produces an environment with large areas of bare ground. The driest deserts are drifting sand dunes. Deserts cover about 1/5 of the Earth's surface. Desert biomes contain very few plants. Some plants you might see include cacti, grasses, shrubs, and some trees. Many desert mammals are small herbivores that remain under cover during the heat of the day, emerging at night to forage on plants. In desert biomes you would see animals such as rodents, snakes, lizards, tortoises, insects, and some birds. In Africa, the desert is home to camels, gazelles, antelopes, snakes, lizards, and gerbils. Desert biomes are located in mid-latitude areas such as northern Africa, Central Australia, and parts of China. In terms of climate, desert biomes have very hot days, cool nights, and on average receive less than 25 centimeters of precipitation a year. Throughout history, there has been a great diversity of life on Earth. For millions of years, there have been species of organisms from all 6 kingdoms living on Earth. However, many of the species that lived long ago do not exist today. They became extinct, which means that all the members of each species everywhere in the world died out completely. Most of the species alive today are different from the species that lived in the past. About 500 million years ago, Earth's oceans were teeming with organisms called trilobites. Trilobites were marine arthropods. Trilobites would flourish and then die out suddenly when conditions changed. Few families survived devastating episodes of changing environments. They would thrive for generations and then be wiped out by another relatively quick change in conditions. By about 265 million years ago, trilobites had become extinct. Horseshoe crabs appeared on Earth around when trilobites did. The horseshoe crab is estimated to have inhabited the Earth for over 300 million years. Although they are called crabs, horseshoe crabs are more closely related to spiders, and most scientists believe they are the closest living relative of the extinct trilobite. Ammonites are perhaps the most widely known fossil possessing the typically ribbed spiral-formed shell. These creatures were ocean dwellers that lived in the seas between 240 and 65 million years ago, becoming extinct along with the dinosaurs. They were members of the mollusk phylum and belonged to a group of predators known as cephalopods, which includes their living relatives, the octopus, squid, cuttlefish, and nautiluses. Nautiluses, pictured here, first appeared on Earth around when ammonites did. The nautilus is one of the last living genera of externally shelled cephalopods. These slow-moving organisms are considered primitive. In addition to having an external shell, these cephalopods do not have lenses in their eyes. The external shell of these animals provides both protection and rigid, open spaces that can be filled with gas for buoyancy. There are still several species of nautilus alive today, but most are extinct. Environments all over the earth are always changing. Sometimes these changes are natural. For example, the event that caused so many extinctions 65 million years ago was natural. Events today, such as erupting volcanoes and rumbling earthquakes, are also natural. Sometimes changes to the environment are caused by our need for resources such as trees, and for land to grow food or build homes. As you might imagine, there are many possible consequences to consider for living things when there are changes to their environment. Adaptations usually develop in response to a change in an organism's habitat. A famous example of an animal adapting to a change in its environment is the English peppered moth. Prior to the 19th century, the most common type of this moth was cream-colored with darker spots. Few peppered moths displayed a mutation of being gray or black. As the Industrial Revolution changed the environment, the appearance of the peppered moth changed. The darker colored moths, which were rare, began to thrive in the urban atmosphere. Their sooty color blended in with the trees stained by industrial pollution. Birds couldn't see the dark moths, so they ate the cream-colored moths instead. The population of the black peppered moths increased, making the darker color a favorable adaptation. The cream-colored moths began to make a comeback after the United Kingdom passed laws that limited air pollution. So what happens when living things are unable to adapt to changing conditions in their environment? One example is the koala. Koalas have adapted to only eat the leaves of eucalyptus trees. Eucalyptus are very low in protein and toxic to many animal species. Being able to digest eucalyptus leaves is an adaptation that benefits the koala by providing it a food source for which there is little competition. However, as their habitat is continuously changing with the cutting down of forests, koalas have a difficult time finding food to eat, which threatens the survival of this species.